What is up, you guys? Welcome back to another tutorial. I've been posting some videos of us running our new GenAI pipeline using controlNet, and I want to take you guys through that. So I've got a little test set up for you guys. I've got a little sushi on a plate, some chopsticks. So basically, you want to navigate over here to the AI tab and to MX Fusion, and I've got a very simple prompt here: sushi in a Japanese restaurant. Got some negative prompts in there, and we're going to go into the normal mode, and I'm going to walk you guys through some of the steps to create a more photorealistic look and feel. And to just dive right in, one of the first things you're going to want to do is check the inference steps. And we want inference to be set to, I would say, 3 or 4. You can definitely go up to 5. Any more than that, you're almost certainly going to have memory overruns. I'll walk you guys through some best practices on getting the most bang for your buck. This is running on an RTX 4090. You're going to need an NVIDIA card to do this. Yeah, let's dive in. I'm gonna press start. And first of all, we're going to get this console popped up because I've got the console enabled in the advanced settings. I'll bring that up in a second. All right, so we're in. I'm going to drop this here, put that there. And we're basically now looking at a really very quick controlNet generation. If you open up controlNet and go to index, the weight is definitely the most important variable that we're going to want to play with. 1 is basically very, very little AI. We're getting the most basic generation possible, and then 0 is going to be practically no input from the 3D scene whatsoever. So I'm going to put that right in the middle at 0.5, so we've got like a 50-50, and so we got 50-50 here. And then also very important is the static image. So I'm going to hit the little triple buttons here, and I'm going to load in this just random image of a cute little creature, and instantly we've got a different scene. So what we're seeing here is we're pulling in the color and the composition from that static image, and that's really going a long way towards styling our setup. So if I zoom out quite a bit and I hide the Mixer UI, we've got this 3D scene and really nothing else, just a lot of black background. So in the normal mode, it's taking the 3D shapes and using that to tell the AI which pieces are separate from one another. And this is very different from color mode, where the AI is just looking at the 2D pixels, and that's all it has to go from. But with the normal mode, we've got this hand roll in front of this other sushi roll, and the AI knows that these two objects are separate. And it knows that because it's getting spatial data out of Mixer to do that. And so this is where we can start to do things like get occlusion, where the AI knows the difference between one image and another. It knows that these are 4 different sushi rolls, or it's trying to anyways. All right, so that's kind of the basics as far as adjusting the controlNet weight and adding in an image. Just a good measure. Let's try a couple different images. So we got the sushi on a plate. Now we're getting a whole lot of sushi input. If you get a little too specific with the image, you'll start to see that the background, we got these kind of 3 sushi rolls in the back. It's without anything in the background, the AI doesn't have a whole lot to go on, so it's using that static image quite a bit in the background. When you see our foreground is changing quite a bit, the background is kind of staying static, and so that's where this addition of a styling image comes in handy. If we use this picture of a geisha, we see the top left, we've got these weird sushi images in the background, and that's really taking the composition of that static image and using it for the background where the AI doesn't have data to go off of. So I'm going to go back to our cute little creature. I think it gives us a nice vibe. I've got some cameras set up in the scene, so I'm going to activate this guy and press play. So we're just going to watch the sequence for a minute, and I think this kind of starts to give us an idea of how the sushi works. Like when we're up close, the AI has a really good idea of what a sushi roll is. And so now we've got this thing that's supposed to look like a booth at a restaurant, but the AI doesn't quite know what's sushi and what's a table until we get in much closer. So now we're just kind of orbiting around the sushi rolls, and I think the AI is doing a pretty good job. But now that we've got a little bit more of a stable image, I'm going to hit loop on this camera. We're just going to keep going in an orbit. So now let's run through like 0.1. We got the AI is really staying very consistent, and that's because we're not giving it much latitude to take input from the 3D scene. All right, 0.2, Getting a little bit more. Image is pretty stable. Not really doing anything interesting, so this is still too low. Getting kind of a morphing effect. You might be able to have some fun with this. All right, we're now getting up into 0.3. We're getting some of that rotation going. No chopsticks though, so this is still very constrained. Going up to 0.4. We're starting to get a variety of sushi on the table. Let's see when the chopsticks come around, if we're going to get anything interesting from those chopsticks. All right, if you're looking to kind of pop in and out, so we're starting to get there. This is starting to have like an interesting parallel between the prompts and the 3D objects. All right, so 0.5. This should be in a territory where we're starting to get something very interesting. This is where I think you start creating some very cool real-time effects and visuals. All right, 0.6. All right, so we're getting a lot more of our 4 sushi rolls with the composition looking a lot more similar to what we're giving it. Let's just keep on going up. 0.7, 0.8, and I'm going to stop at 0.9. Okay, so we see here we've got a lot more flickering, a lot less interframe consistency, where there's a lot more bouncing around because we're not letting the AI dream nearly as much, and so it's taking a lot more from the 3D image, and so it's almost like each frame it's recalculating or regenerating what the image can or should be, and so that's why we're getting so much less consistency between the frames themselves, and we're getting a lot more things popping in and out. And I think just in general the quality of the generation is not quite as good. So I'm going to dial it back down, 0.75, let's go to 0.65, and then 0.5. So I think 0.5 is probably a really nice medium. You can start to play around with the prompt wave. If we go to 0, there's more dreaming and less attachment to the text input. If we go up to 0.5, we're going to get a little bit more from the text prompt, and then up to 1, it should stay a little bit more in line, but we're really not prompting with too much, so you guys can have a lot more fun playing with the prompts, playing with the prompt weighting, and just see how far you can go. Like if we take sushi in a Japanese restaurant and say sushi on a plate in the middle, a New York City street. All right, now we've got this kind of a shallow depth of field New York City street, and I think it's taking the kind of cues from the negative prompts as well, giving us this blurry background, shallow depth of field look. So I've also got this mannequin character here, so I'm going to put this back, sushi in a Japanese restaurant, and then I'm going to pilot the camera again. We start to zoom in. We now got this character in the middle of our screen. The AI is going to try to do its best to try to apply the sushi to our character, but it's also seeing a figure of a person. So it's like, this is definitely a human being. So it's going to do its best to like put a face on it. Let's drop it down. Definitely way more of a human. Let's go to 0.75. A little bit more like a sumo wrestler, sushi person creature thing. So that's what the AI is trying to do when it sees a person. And we'll drop back down to 0.45. You know, this is kind of interesting. It's weird. You guys can definitely have fun playing around with that. All right, so we've got our sushi plate. You can kind of spin around, find an interesting composition. Let's see what it'll do with a particle system. So I just turned on this swarm particle system. In some of the previous tutorials, I walked you guys through how to set up a particle system. I'm not going to run you guys through that on this one, but I've already created this particle system to be audio reactive. So I'm going to activate our camera again, and then I'm going to turn on some music. Let's see what happens.
Hold up. Hold up.
All right, so that's how I created the sushi effect, and this is how I've been prompting a lot of other things as well. I'm going to go ahead and stop and pilot this camera around. So let's turn off our particle system, and let's fly around. I also have a concept car. You guys may have seen this, but this is a sushi This is a car made out of sushi. Gotta love that. All right, let's say sushi made of thick yarn. Let's see if we drop the prompt, if we can get this thing to look kind of like it's made out of some fabric. All right, I'm actually just going to turn off the prompt. So now there's no image input. All right, it's kind of looking like thread, kind of not really. Maybe we'll go up to 175. And I'm starting to get a little bit of a vibe of like yarn, not quite. Prompt weight, let's see what happens. Drop to 0. All right, that's looking much more yarn-like. So let's maybe drop this to 0.65. The wheels on this thing are looking very much like it's yarn. All right, so now we're at 0.5. So now we're starting to get an interesting mashup where the AI is trying to dream. It's trying to figure out like what a sushi car made out of yarn might look like. So the AI is trying. It's doing its best. So I think we play with these settings, we might be able to get it to a point where this is looking much more interesting. All right, so there we go. Sushi yarn. There we go. There's some weird yarn action. All right, so what I want to do now is got a kind of a baseline of what the AI is doing and how to prompt it to get the best image possible. What I want to do now is show you guys some different settings. So we've got Xformers, which is I think probably the most stable acceleration method. TensorRT also works. It's less stable, so you might get more crashes. But for now, let's do Xformers. Let's do the steps down to 3. And then I'm going to take you guys through. By default, first load the app. It's probably going to have the FPS cap set to 240. I'm going to hit start, and let's do some profiling. I'll run you guys through how to get the most performance out of your generations. The inference steps is the number of generations that it goes through to use the diffusion model to resolve an image. The number of steps definitely dictates how much quality you're going to get out of your image. All right, so we're running Xformers, and we've got, we're getting about 10 to 11, pinging it up to about 14, 13 FPS. And again, we're running this on a RTX 4090. Over here on the FPS cap, I'm going to drop this down because we're running around the 10 to 15 range. I'm going to drop this down to, say, 20. And I'm going to bring back our FPS counter. All right, so one thing to note is when MXR is focused, you're going to get more priority to MXR. When it's not in focus, you're going to get different performance levels. All right, so we're hovering around 10-ish, kind of pinging up to 15 FPS. If I drop this down to, say, 18, it should stabilize, stabilize around like 15 FPS a second. It looks like maybe we'll kind of spike up to 16 FPS. The screen recording I'm doing right now for this tutorial is definitely eating up a few cycles. So I think if you guys are running this with just MXR running, you're probably going to be hovering around 15 to 16 FPS using these settings. So I'm going to go ahead and maximize this again, or dock it over here. All right, so that's 3 inference steps. Less image quality, we're running 512 by 512. If we hit stop and we go to TensorRT, we're going to run this again. So I'm going to dock this over here, and then let's let this boot up. If you're running this for the first time, it can take quite some time to load these for the first time. But as you can see, we're now capping out at the FPS cap. So let's go ahead and raise this up to 30 and see what we get. Put these together like this so we can see everything at once. All right, so we're now hovering, kind of spiking up to 22 FPS. So I'm going to drop this down to say 25. And now we're hovering around 21, 22, 23 FPS. So maybe we're spiking up to 24. All right, so I'm going to keep this here at 25. So running TensorRT with 3 inference steps, we're going to be hovering around 22 to 25 FPS on an RTX 4090. And I know not everybody's running the latest hardware, but if anybody out there cops a 4080 when they hopefully drop or get announced this week at CES, hit me up. Would love to see how well this runs on the newest hardware. If you're running on say a 3080, 3090, you should be able to run these models without running out of VRAM, but definitely VRAM is a big limitation. So it's not just about the speed and how many FPS you're going to get, but just can you load this into memory in general. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and hit stop, and then I'm gonna try running this on Xformers, 3 inference steps, and 768 by 768. And I'm gonna go ahead and hit start. All right, so you should be able to see a very, very pronounced quality difference. So if I bring our console window over, we've now sadly dropped down to about 5 FPS. When MXR is focused, we're going to get in that 7 to 6 range. I'm going to drop this down to say 12. All right, now we're back up in the 6 to 8. Maybe we cap this out at 10. So it's running, and the images look like the fidelity, even with just 3 inference steps, are pretty ridiculous. However, you're going to see a noticeable FPS drop. So if I activate our camera, you'll see that MXR is running quite a bit slower, but the AI is looking awesome. So if you're doing a screen recording or you're using our experimental capture movie settings, you can render this out and then run it through an up-reser to add additional frames if you want to smooth it out, if you're doing offline rendering. But to do this live, this is still very much pushing the capabilities of what a 4090 can do. We're stoked to see what happens when we get to the 5090s. We will be working on some additional optimizations. We want to bring in an FP8 and start optimizing for lower VRAM. So the lower precision will definitely help with the VRAM situation. But we're going to do everything we can to optimize performance on current hardware. So give us time. We're grinding away trying to create the coolest experience possible. You can go up to 1024 by 1024. Again, you're going to take a hit on performance there. You can use the screen settings, screen effects, and then you can start to get some really, really high fidelity images. If I go over here and maximize this, we're now running upsample to 4K, and it looks pretty darn good. All right, you guys, so had a lot of requests to show you guys how we're achieving a lot of these looks, what our workflow was. So it's MXR. It should work if you got out of the gate, if you've got a beefy GPU. So let us know if this is working out for you. And really, guys, like, we would love to see what you guys are creating out there. So ping us and send us, tag us on some stuff on Instagram, or post a video on YouTube and send it our way, or hit us on Reddit. So any place you guys are active, we want to come and hang out with you guys. All right, so I think I'm going to dock this over here and hit stop. So just for good measure, I'm going to go up to 1024 by 1024, and I'm going to hit start. And so just to show you guys, like, the fidelity of 1x image. All right, there you go. So this is now 1024 by 1024. I'm looking at our FPS counter. We're not clocking very many FPS, but it's running. And so if you wanted to bring in audio reactive particle systems and effects, you can start to dial that in. So let's do that real quick. So I'm going to take you guys out with some cool audio reactive visuals. So let's turn our particle system back on. So I'm going to let the music take us out.
Keep my calm while I gotta keep my calm while
Hold up.